John 9:8-23. His neighbors and some others who had seen him begging said, "Look, is this the same man who always sits and begs?" Some people said, "Yes, he is the one." But others said, "No, he can't be the same man. He only looks like him." So the man himself said, "I am that same man." They asked, "What happened? How did you get your sight?" He answered, "The man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. Then he told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went there and washed, and then I could see." They asked him, "Where is this man?" He answered, "I don't know." Then the people brought the man to the Pharisees. The day Jesus had made mud and healed the man's eyes was a Sabbath day. So the Pharisees asked the man, "How did you get your sight?" He answered, "He put mud on my eyes, I washed, and now I can see." Some of the Pharisees said, "That man does not obey the law about the Sabbath day, so he is not from God." Others said, "But someone who is a sinner cannot do these miraculous signs," so they could not agree with each other. They asked the man again, "Since it was your eyes he healed, what do you say about him?" He answered, "He is a prophet." The Jewish leaders still did not believe that this really happened to the man, that he was blind and was now healed. But later they sent for his parents. They asked them, "Is this your son? You say he was born blind, so how can he see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, and we know that he was born blind, but we don't know why he can see now. We don't know who healed his eyes. Ask him. He is old enough to answer for himself." They said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. The leaders had already decided they would punish anyone who said Jesus was the Messiah. They would stop them from coming to the synagogues. That is why his parents say, "He is old enough. Ask him."
Hall monitors at school. When I was teaching fifth grade at a particular school, my classroom was in a portable building. When my students needed to go to the bathroom, they walked down a particular hall. It was the habit of two teachers who had classrooms along that hall to become self-appointed hall monitors of any child who walked by their classroom. Did the students have the proper documentation, a hall pass, to be there? If not, they would send them scurrying back to me, sometimes in tears. Fortunately, there was another hallway a little further away. The teachers in that particular wing were so busy teaching, they didn't have time to be bothered with my students' documents or papers permitting them to pass. So that's where they traveled from then on.
Hall monitors of faith. These so-called monitors of the faith in Jesus' day were much like these hall monitors, even deciding that the miracles hadn't happened, or if it had, a sinner had performed it. Nothing can be more devastating than for a family member to reject you out of fear. But that seems to be what happened here. Being thrown out of the synagogue meant much more than just not being able to go to church with your friends. It meant that you were ostracized, and from all that went on in the community. There have been many who become Christians in non-Christian communities throughout the centuries who were expelled not only from their religious societies, but from their families as well. Is making mud on the Sabbath considered work? Again, Jesus is breaking the fourth commandment according to these monitors of the faith. Many scholarly men over the centuries since the Ten Commandments and the rest of the law were given by Moses wrote additions to the law, especially about Sabbath keeping, to explaining what God has considered work. This was to help the uneducated person of the Jewish faith to stay in line. One interesting thought. Here, the incarnate God in human form, was right in front of them, showing them what the true law was all about, loving your neighbor as yourself, and they called him a sinner.